All right, good morning. Smartphone photo class. My name is Rob Hart. I am the instructor for this 5-week mini session, this awesome photography class that lives inside the journalism department. It is all about the practice of photography, how to have fun, how to make great pictures, how to use the little thing that you ignore your phone calls from your mom to make photos. We're going to go over a lot of cool stuff. There's a lot of good lessons that's been built out. It's really fun. I'm going to be shooting photos with you guys every week. The way it goes is there's a discussion that's due, and you make one reply to a classmate, you get credit for it. You shoot a photo that week, you shoot it that week. You make a critique for one classmate, you get full credit. Easy, easy, easy. It's very important that the photos are shot the same week of the class, okay? Each photo has like metadata embedded in it, so I can see like where and when you shoot it usually. So please just, let's not do that. Let's not have photos with snow in it or, summertime. It's just really easy to tell. And I don't like not giving people credit because I spend a lot of time looking at your pictures. I spend a lot of time thinking about your photos and how to be great. I mean, I was a 19-year-old when I came to Columbia College. And I had a lot of great teachers that really helped me, that really got me where I am. So please, 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 please reach out if you need something. That's where I got a lot of value from Columbia, was reaching out to the instructors and just asking a ton of questions and bothering them. And I've continued to bother some of them for the next 25 years. Because this is what we do. We love this. We're not here for the money. We're here because we believe in the mission, and we want people like us to succeed. So let's do that. Also, there's please don't use any AI. Don't use it to generate any photos. This is all about the practice of photography. I spent 13 years at Sun Times, and I've spent the last 15 or whatever as a freelance photographer. So I am working a lot. I'm shooting a lot of photos for a lot of clients. But if you need something, you guys have my phone number, you have my email. If you're out on a shoot and something goes wrong and you just need something emergency, you feel free to call me. Feel free to text me. I have a weird schedule, so just reach out whenever you feel it's necessary. We are going to get into next a little bit about deliberate practice. It's something that I work on every day. I wake up every morning at like 4 o'clock and I want to do something hard right away. And I do it every day, and it gets easier. So, I have like all these goals set that I wanted to do. So this year, like get up at 4, meditate for an hour, work out for an hour, do the hardest thing in the morning. And I always make a photo every morning while I'm running or somewhere. I have my phone in my little pocket. When I see the sunrise, I see something, I'm making a picture of it because that's what I want to do, right? I want to do this every day. I've been doing it every day since I was 19 years old. So almost 30 years here. So it gets easier, but you just have to try. You have to do it all the time because everybody you're going to be competing with for jobs is doing it every day. Unless you're very, very talented. But a lot of us aren't. A lot of us just have to work our asses off. So we're going to roll into deliberate practice. You guys are going to shoot some photos. It's going to be awesome. You're going to finish this class with a photo story. What is a photo story? It's going to be a multiple picture package. The specifics are in the assignment. That tells a story. What do you have access to? What is nice? I'm recording this video on my smartphone. I'm using my window to light this. I have diffused light on these windows, right? So if you're choosing a place to shoot with your phone that's inside, that has terrible light, it's going to be really hard. So think about the places that you go that have set you up for success. Okay, maybe it's your favorite record shop that has like a big window, or a butcher shop, or something cool, something interesting where you get your hair cut, where you get your tattoos. Who knows? Think about the light as you're walking around these next couple weeks. What do I want to do? like whose story do I want to tell? Who do I have access to? Maybe it's your um, uh, well, I've seen a lot of cool stories. Veterinarians, busboys, waitresses, barbers, DJs, other photographers, all kinds of stuff. I'm going to post some examples in the later assignments. So that's going to be really cool. But that'll be due week 5. We're only at 1. So have some fun, do a lot of good work, and it's going to be great.
What we're going to do for this class is a lot of what we call visual storytelling. And one of the things that when I was talking with one of my friends who's a professional musician, I saw him at the airport. He's touring with Bob Dylan's band. He always says that like Bob Dylan listens with his whole body. And I thought like a lot of what we are going to do with this class is we're listening with our eyes and we're learning how to translate what we see to somebody else. So, how do you like boil down what something feels like into a picture with your phone? And a lot of it is, back when I would cover protests, right? Like people are marching on the streets. Like, how do you make this big thing into something that like makes sense, right? So you have composition, you have light, you have emotion, you have feeling, and you just kind of wait it out. Back, when there's this great baseball team in Chicago, right? We were winning this World Series. Like, how do you talk about this, and how do you just kind of sit and wait for something to happen? And a lot of what we do is standing and waiting and sitting here. And when you put yourself kind of like outside the situation, and then they might win, they might not, and you kind of figure out like who you want to make a photo of in this moment, right? And this was like the second we all found out they won the World Series, standing in front of Wrigley. Um, and I scouted this out. I kind of like knew a couple people. I had it pre-focused, and you're ready to roll. One of my favorite photographs, if there's a way to illustrate this, is by the National Geographic photographer. And when he gets to this situation, like this is the picture he sees, and this is the photo he makes. Okay, now this is a great Sam Abel photograph. It's amazing with just like layers and all this stuff happening at the same time. But he sees this and moves into a position right by the felt calf on the right, and then waits for all of these elements to come together. And what he's doing and what we're doing are exactly the same thing. I really don't want to shoot people pulling down animals, but hey, whatever. But it's the same thing that's been happening with art. I went to see this Caravaggio exhibit when I was a Columbia student, and I just fell in love with the light, the subjects. It was exactly what I do with photography. And if you think about what art is, oops, um, it's rule thirds. Like these are all the techniques that we're gonna learn in class, right? We're gonna this rule of thirds, which we'll get to, right? Rule of thirds. It's putting something on one of these in one of these thirds, and you see it everywhere. It's not just in paintings; it's in photographs. This Stravinsky photograph here was kind of cropped in, but like if you see the original pictures, this is what he was thinking, right? So, how do we do this? Every day. So when you're going to be outside, and this is one thing I started doing when my children were little, is I would just take my camera and I would practice. So the big lesson here, the psychologist Anders Ericsson has this idea of deliberate practice. It's a scientific attention to specific improvement goals, a constant drive to move outside one's comfort zone that is generally not enjoyable, and a good coach to minimize the risk of wasted and frustrated time. Right? So, what does that all mean? Deliberate practice. So, that means doing it all the time, doing things in ways that kind of make you uncomfortable, right? And then finding feedback to get it. Now, this was these are old pictures. I guess I loaded the wrong one. But every day I would just be outside, inside, with my camera, just making photos, uh, making photos about storytelling moments, right? And why is this? Why do I show you this? Because like when you get hired to do something big, you're going to use these same principles, right? Of timing, of composition, of rule of thirds. I mean, this is the same rule of thirds that you would find in the photograph of this bee that we saw earlier on the left. I mean, it's almost the same principle, and you can see it. It's timing, it's light, and this is redneck fishing in southern Illinois, where these carp, Asian carp, jump out of the water, and people have to catch them with nets. It's something I've been shooting for a long time, but it is a good example of like why we're doing this right now. This was shot with DSLRs. Obviously, you guys are going to have to be a little more tricky, but it's the same principles, right? Like, how do you put yourself in a good position? Oh, that's a video. How do you put yourself in a good position to make pictures that tell the stories? And like this one, I I tried for like an hour because I wanted the fish in focus and everything else not in focus. And I wanted it to be in a place where it would jump off the screen against that bright background. So I would just wait and I would wait and I would wait. And then I'd follow people. What are their life like when they're off the boat? Um, you know, I would get in different boats. I would shoot from up high, I'd shoot from uh, down low. Um, people get hit in the face with the fish. This is like down low, and this is kind of what you'd be sitting in. So photography is a lot of fun. And what do people do afterwards? They go and they have some fun, and they wear weird clothes and hang out with Mennonites. Um, but it's a wild world we live in, right? And how do we document this? How do we make portraits? There's a lot of weird people at this thing. Um, and this is ended up being my buddy Carl on the right and his son, and he actually made it in GQ, and still to this day, everyone at his work gives him uh, a bunch of hassles. But when I talk about deliberate practice, like the moments of here is the same thing I would do for this. All right, so I'm waiting for a moment. I know what I want. I kind of know from jumping on trampoline. I know that there's a time when everybody's going to be off the ground, right? Like I know there's a moment when that fish is just about to hit the net, and I'm going to watch it and I'm going to wait for it. All right, and then I'm going to shoot stuff that doesn't always make me feel good, right? There's a lot of people at redneck fishing that have very divergent views from me. There's a lot of Confederate flags. There's a lot of weird stuff. But to me, that is where the best photos come from, is when you're not so comfortable and you have to work through it. Okay, so that is one of the things I want you guys to do with this. Um, I always think about this great photo of Nelson Mandela that I saw my first class at Columbia College. That was shot by John H. White. Um, this is Nelson Mandela walking into his house for the first time and taking off his coat after he was released from prison. And John, who's been teaching at Columbia College for almost 40 years now, was in his kitchen at that moment. And it's just one of those photos that made me want to do this forever. All right. This was shot on film, um, very much same focal length as what your camera has. But one of the things I want us to do is get out there, make photos of people, right? Getting close to people. And that's one thing I learned from John is that you really have to make an emotional connection with people in order to be able to make great photos of them. So no matter if they are people that maybe feel a lot like you, or I shoot a lot of sports. I think um, uh, this was actually one of my neighbors who's a wrestler, right? So sometimes you're with people that you know, and sometimes you're shooting, live monsters and spaghetti wrestling and people that you don't really have a lot of association with. right? But you kind of have to make it all come together. So let's think about this. Let's have a great course. Thanks for hanging through here. Deliberate practice. Think about it. Let's do it a bunch.